So today, Sinead, now we are not recording this live, myself and Sinead, after much trouble to make this happen. Myself and Sinead are, call it an interview, call it a conversation. Sinead would like to speak her truth, wouldn't you, Sinead? She'd like to speak her truth. She'd like to have a voice. She'd like to talk about her experience within... You've been in other MLMs, haven't you, Sinead?
Yeah, it started with Younique, the place of devilment, and then I dabbled with FM last year, not last year, the year before, when the big fire of 2023 happened.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, there was only one I was really serious about. And what happened, yeah,
that's you are. That's, yeah.
It broke me.
So Sinead wants to talk about her experience, and in doing so, I'm looking at the wrong camera, and in doing so, she hopes to make others who have been in her position feel like they can have a voice, even if they never have a voice to speak out live or even in comments, to know that they mattered, that they're seen, and that most importantly, they're not alone. And that's the most important thing here.
Well, I always said that when I made the decision to step away completely last 2023, that I knew there was probably thousands of people that had been sat like me with those same niggling doubts, those same uncertainties, but because, and we'll get into how people end up in this industry, because there's a certain demographic of people that are targeted for it, and it's so sad. And when you delve deeper into the MLM industry, and it's heartbreaking. It's absolutely heartbreaking to see how some people grow their teams. It really is.
Well, I mean, like, as you know, Sinead, I was doing this for a considerable amount of time before we even knew each other or connected. And just for context, myself and Sinead connected. What time? When do you think you first came through to me? When was it?
It was probably just before July or just around July 2023.
Yeah.
And I only know that date specifically because that was when I told my best friend, Michelle, who I know you speak to as well. She'd already had concerns about the particular company I was with, and she'd mentioned some things, and I was still in that brainwash phase. No, it's just jealous haters. The rumors started by other. You know how the script goes.
Yeah.
And so I know the date's pretty specific on that, and I had sat for about 3 months before that because my decision had been made when I finally stumbled upon your page by accident. And I think I sat for about 2-3 months solid, just going through all the videos in chronological order, and slowly everything started dropping into place. And then I think it took me probably about a month or two after that to just get in touch with you and say thank you for making me know I wasn't going crazy.
What was that like for you, Sinead? I mean, we will talk more on obviously the whole process of how you got involved, but from this point, I mean, what the point we're talking about, you'd been involved in this organisation for a considerable length of time, which you'll go on to explain, but you were obviously very indoctrinated into the belief system. What was that like for you as you were emerging out of that, and as all of these realities began to fall into place, and as you began to slowly wake up? What was that like from a psychological and an emotional standpoint?
First of all, you go through how could people who supposedly cared about me and were my friends get me involved in anything like this? Then how could I be so stupid to get involved in anything like this? Shame, embarrassment, guilt, and then you sat with all that, and then you do at some points when when reality's starting to kick in and you're starting to put all the pieces together, you do think that you're going crazy because you think I've imagined all this, you know, look at all these happy people that are still there, and you know, I'm like, why is that not me? Like, why can't I just be happy about this? And you've been told from the inside that those on the outside that are telling you anything that doesn't go in line with their beliefs, which is you should spend every day of every hour devoted to the company and devoted to your industry. And they bang on about family time, but they want more and more time for the Zooms that you have to be on at God knows what time of the night because it's got to suit so and so. And they consume so much of your time, but they do it in such a, and I'm going to say, like, not all leaders are like this. Not all leaders, and it's such a shame because there are, and I would say probably a handful of genuine good people who've done it, and they believe in doing things organically. They don't use any of the nasty tactics, but they, unfortunately, the industry is just laden with people who want to brainwash people, who want to sit back and reap the rewards of other people's time and energy, time spent away from the family, then ploughing their money into products that they think they have to have every single month because their life isn't the same without these products. And it starts slowly, and they go on about, like, you've got to be yourself, be an individual, be yourself.
Your authentic self.
Yeah, you can't say this and you mustn't say that, and you can't talk about this on your profile.
So don't be yourself. Don't be yourself.
So,
be yourself, but don't be yourself.
Be yourself, but don't be yourself. That's it. And it's all these conflicting things, and slowly but surely you're drifting further and further away from your real friends and family. And it's like I'm so blessed that I have some people that have stood by me. Like, I nearly lost somebody very, very dear because of this industry, and luckily I haven't. And I think if it hadn't been for their faith in me and their belief that I would come to the realization myself, because they didn't constantly go on at me going, it's a pyramid scheme, it's this, it's just like, well, you know, this is my view in it, I won't argue with you about it, but we'll have a chat someday later. And you know, 4 years later I did have that chat, and it was that. And I think that's as well why I decided to move away from the industry, is because I know when people come at you with that, when you're in the industry, when people come at you with the, oh, it's a bad thing, and look, and you've got all these, the hun bots, as I like to call them, or the mega huns, going, oh no, they're just a negative person. They don't want what's best for you. They don't really love you. Do they really support you?
They pre-prepare you. It's almost like they've already got their responses. And I do, Sinead, and this is why I've said to you before, and I say to anyone, the whole thing with shame and blaming yourself, it's so similar in this most insidious way to a coercive control, abusive relationship, because all of the tactics used are the same as what the abusive partner uses. And I say partner because it could be man or woman, the abusive partner, because this is a psychological process, setting the victim up to be ready for this, almost be ready for people to come and say that what we're doing is wrong. Be ready for this, because do you know what? They just don't want you to succeed. They're just jealous of what we've got. They're just jealous of you. Yeah, they're hating on you. But they turn you, they cause the victim to feel resentful towards the people who really love them. And as soon as the resent sets in, that's the beginning of the complete decimation of those friendships. Because when you begin to resent somebody, you start to feel hate almost for them. And it's so insidious. But this is what I want to get across to anyone who knows nothing about this, that this is the process that the victims of these scams go through. This isn't just about getting people in and suddenly making them buy stuff. It's about getting people in and isolating them from all of the people.
So it gets to a point sometimes where they are your only lifeline. it's like it's like before you realise it, you've gone fully into the cult, and you're like, hey, these are my friends, these are my real friends, these are the people who want the best for me. And, you know, again, it's not everyone in there. It's not everyone in there. There are still some really, really good people still in the industry. Like, and I know that when the penny finally drops for them, because they don't have that killer sort of narcissistic traits and that will go and get them to badger somebody to sign up under them. They don't have that in them. So eventually the penny's going to drop at them of what the industry is all about, and it is essentially designed for you to fail. So
got a 99% failure rate. And, you know, it's pretty well documented that multi-level marketing, pyramid schemes, and I do want to say, there is, just before anyone says anything, there is a difference between multi-level marketing and pyramid schemes. Many multi-level marketing companies are in pyramid schemes in disguise. Some clues are a pyramid scheme really focuses on recruitment, and a pyramid scheme will have more products being consumed by its reps than going outside of the company. To be a legitimate multi-level marketing company, the focus must be on selling. Recruitment should be very secondary to this, and most of the products must be going to outside consumers. Those are some of the key differences. But as we know, until an organisation goes under investigation, which is very difficult to make happen, many times an organisation calling themselves a multi-level marketing company is in fact an illegal pyramid scheme. But the same tactics are used typically. And what you find is the more cult-like environments tend to be swayed towards pyramid scheme rather than... So we're not accusing Urban Retreat of being an illegal pyramid scheme. We don't know. It's never gone under investigation.
No.
But in my opinion, from what I've seen of stockholding, from what I've seen of indoctrination, from what I've seen on a push to recruit, it does seem distinctly similar to a pyramid scheme more than a multi-level marketing company.
Like a lot of the trainings we had were always, especially with our top rep, the reps rep, you know who that is. It was always based around recruitment. It was always based around getting those algorithms up and recruitment. And it was slowly but surely, you've got to start shoehorning that business into every single Facebook post you do, every single, so it's, and you've got to start thanking them for everything. And it's like, I wouldn't get this if it hadn't have been for, and you know, not the fact that you've worked your bloody arse off. You know, it's anything good that happens is because of the company. Anything bad is, oh, that must have been you. You must have been negative.
We hear it so much. And that again is so cult-like, to be indoctrinated to almost accept it yourself, that all good things that are occurring in your life are a direct consequence of you being involved with this scheme, and everything negative that's going on in your life is a direct consequence of you. It's your fault, actually. Like,
it is. It's very, very much that. But that doesn't just happen overnight. It like slowly, like people need to understand that it slowly happens. Like
grooming.
That sort of, it is. You are essentially groomed, and you're slowly brainwashed into just becoming this robot. That's why I call them hun bots, because the messages always go, "Hi, hun."
That's why they get called huns. They get called the huns. That is the thing. So I think we've given a bit of an overview in a sense of like how obviously this ended up, your state ended up being. So can we talk about, Sinead, how you first got involved? Because what a lot of people who have never got involved with these things, or people who have been approached by people and sort of like gone, oh no, you know, they can't, it's very difficult for these people to understand the mindset of somebody who agrees to join. You know, you think to yourself, with all this stuff and all your friends and family saying, oh, it's a pyramid scheme, for you to agree to join it. How did that happen? How did this start?
I'm not a stupid girl. I'm quite well educated. You know, I've gone through all my high school. I went to college. You know, I've done quite good jobs. I'm, you know, not thick. I'd be quite savvy to things like this. But there's childhood trauma, and it all sort of ties into how I got into network marketing. In 2013, I had a hysterectomy because I had some tumours growing inside, so I had to have a full hysterectomy. Now, I'd already had a history of postnatal depression and just a bad history of mental health. At the time, I didn't realise it was complex PTSD, but I'm sort of at this point starting when all my lady parts had been taken out. That was it. It was my mental health started, so it was in a really, really bad place. I started a group on Facebook, which was just for better mental health in the Isle of Man, where we could just chat. It was a group. And I didn't realise it at the time, but one of the girls who joined was a Younique rep.
Okay. What time scale was this? What sort of years was this?
2013, 2014.
Okay.
And, you know, again, I'm quite innocent. I'm quite naive. I can be quite naive in some things like that. I do think people are genuine so I had no idea this girl was trying to get me to sign up for a scheme, but she hounded me and hounded me and hounded me, you know, after we built that friendship. And in the end, I just signed up just to, that all sort of ties into childhood trauma and PTSD, and that all ties into that, wanting to people please and not wanting to let people down. In the end, I had to block this girl. She was just she would hound me at the end of the month, and it was horrendous. And I rolled up to another girl was my upline, and developed quite a nice friendship with her.
So you joined, so sorry to interrupt you, Sinead. You joined under that initial one, but she literally, after you joined, she just got so full on with you that you could take no more. And you literally had to block her and join under her. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
What was she saying to you, trying to make you buy stuff?
It was just constant, have you got any orders? Have you got any? Oh, please. And it was well, if you can't, you're going to have to order it yourself, and you're going to have to make. And it's no, this isn't how this works.
Well, this is so important, though. You see, Sinead, what you just said, because it isn't how it's supposed to work, but it's how it does work so often. And of course, like many others, you know, they fall into that trap of doing this. Particularly people who,
they even encourage it in groups to sort of, when they're doing their training on recruiting, it's all about building. They put it in a nice little box. It's about building relationships. It's not. It's you're grooming people, basically. You go in groups. They're actively encouraging you to go in these groups on Facebook and in any of the other social platforms or chats or whatever, and they actively encourage you to go in there, make new friends. Are they going to be a potential customer or a potential business partner? They don't see you as a new friend. They see you as either a pound sign. Well, they see you as a pound sign or a teammate.
Yeah.
That's all they see these people as. And they're encouraged to go into new mums groups, people who, you know, stay at home mums, baby and toddler groups, pet groups, anything that you might have interests with. And I can spot one of the Hunbots a mile away now in any of these groups. You can tell from their posts straight away. It's why are you even posting
it's like all of your things that you would naturally want to do, you would naturally might want to join a cat group because you want to see people's cats, but all of this is off. You have a prime objective, and that is to use this common ground, you're a single mother together with other single mothers, or you've got a cat, or you've got this. Use this to infiltrate. Once you're in, you start chatting about the things that you're supposed to like, and then you can go in for the kill. Because that's the only reason you're in there, to recruit. That's it.
Basically, that's a customer or a team sign up.
Yeah.
It's just and it's I think people don't realise, you know, when they're talking about network marketing, like how deep this sort of cult mentality goes and how they infiltrate normal people who are quite, like, who do know the ways of the world, but this is how they get into people.
But they cast the net out. This is the thing. You go in a mum's group with, say, 5,000 people. You cast that net out. You know, for example, 85% of those people may be wise to it and not susceptible. But you've got that other smaller percentage that are going to fall for a hook, line and sinker. And all they need to do is keep casting these nets out and drawing them in. And that's all. And it's just about getting out there to as many as possible and seeing who you can catch.
Basically, yeah. It is. And it's just so sad, because you just think, like, the amount of vulnerable people that they must be dragging into these that are in desperate situations, that basically just want to make friends, that are lonely, that need a little bit, because they love bomb you. Yeah. Oh, the love bombing. Oh my God, the love bombing when you do one or two good things at the start. My God. And then they'll bomb you and bomb you and bomb you and bomb you, and then all of a sudden it's like, if you get to a certain level, it's like, why aren't you working hard enough?
This is how it's like an abusive relationship. Well, I was nice to you, like, you know, we were getting on so well, and you were working really hard, and, like, you know, so it's almost like it's your fault that you've lost this now. You can get it back though if you go and get some people in, or better yet, go and spend £300 in the shop, because I make from that. You'll get it back. You'll get a shout out from me.
Yeah. So it's just preying upon people who are, like, I'm not saying everybody in the MLM industry is a predator or a narcissist or an absolute complete psycho, like some of the people we know. But something has to be done about the people they prey on, because they do actively prey on single mums. You go into any training video in any company, and it is the same. It's single mums. It's people who have mobility issues, people who have health issues that can't go physically to work. They prey on these people, and they give them promises of these lives of luxury, and it's like, if you do this, all you have to do is do this, and you just replicate it, and it sounds so easy. And then you're there and you're doing these things, and you're going back to your upline, you're saying, but I'm doing these things, and why isn't, well, you're not working hard enough. And it's like, even if you go to an upline who's not a nasty predator, they're like, oh, well, just keep the faith, because sadly they're in the same thing, that they're keeping the faith.
I actually, just to, on this thing of leadership, because I do always myself make a point to say that not all leaders are predatory. However, it's important to also understand that although 99% of people lose money, 100% of people have been indoctrinated, and different levels. Now, the sad reality is the 1% tends to be part of the machine of subjugation of the 99%. But also they themselves are still indoctrinated. And what you will find is most of these leaders who don't display these very narcissistic and aggressive traits, it's different for them. They believe so much that they can make it happen. They believe so much. They're so certain of it. You can be like me. I'm nothing special. And they believe it so much themselves that in itself can be just as bad, and they don't mean to do it because they believe it so much. They can convince you to believing it because you know they're genuine. Well, they're really genuine. They really believe it. You know,
that's like really heartbreaking, and it's like, you know, when the grand reality of everything sets in, and they come to that realization, it'll break them. Yeah, it really will, and it's just like there needs to be more legislation on MLMs.
Oh God,
there really has to be. There so has to be, because like I wouldn't even want to think about the amount of statistics about the vulnerable people that have ended up in worse circumstances because they've got involved in a cult like this.
Well, yeah. For somebody on universal credit, right? Now remember, If somebody on universal credit has joined one of these things, they're doing it to get off universal credit. They want to get off, they want to earn money, they want to work, right? So, but they're on universal credit, so they have to begin this with their universal credit money. Now, this universal credit money is for their, it's very basic, they don't get a lot, for their children, for this, for that. Even £200 in debt or loss to somebody on universal credit is a huge loss, you know?
It's like you're just going to be constantly digging yourself out of, isn't it?
Well, it goes, I from what I've observed, it almost goes into gambler, not saying that people have got predisposed to be a gambler, but it then triggers the gambler mentality of, okay, I've put that in now, I've got to get it back, I've got to get this back, I need to work a bit harder, I need to do what my upline is telling me to do, and then I'll get it back. It was an investment, it's not lost yet. I've invested £200, I can't lose that £200, I've got to get it back. So what have I got to do? And they are slowly drawn in. Well, you need to buy a bit more products. If you don't buy these products here, which will cost you an additional £100, how are you going to show everybody how they work? Really?
Be a product of the product.
It's an investment. Don't you understand? This is an investment. You've got to invest in your business. And then they're there like, but that's another £100 worth of products. But they're absolutely convinced. I mean, these people above them are convinced, like, assuring them, of course it will pay back. You're going to sell stuff. And the only way you're going to sell it is to buy it. So then they drop more from their next month's universal credit. And then it just escalates and escalates. And Sinead, I've seen women who have got nothing, you know, in a couple of grand's worth of debt at least. We're talking about people on universal credit, you know.
It just doesn't even bear thinking about, like, the amount of actual victims that are out there that haven't spoken about things that have happened to them in MLMs.
They still hold themselves responsible.
Yeah, they will still, like, there's still days now where I think it was, why was I so stupid? Like, how could I not see it? What the hell was I doing? Like, why did I ever get involved in this? But, you know,
But I want to just put the point of, to everyone watching this, that to blame somebody who has fallen victim to one of these schemes, to blame somebody would be the same as blaming a victim of domestic abuse for not leaving sooner or for getting involved with that man in the first place or that woman in the first place. This is what you would be doing, because the process at which a person gets to the point where they are losing considerable amounts of money, they are already becoming very mentally damaged by this point, by this whole process, and it's only getting worse. It is escalating, and this whole process is so deeply abusive to these individuals that by the end of it they are so victimized, they are so traumatized. So to turn around and question why they would have done it or say anything, like, everyone's got a right to comment or have an opinion, but it would be no different to blaming a victim of domestic abuse. It would be.
no. It's victim shaming, isn't it? It's that victim shaming. But it's just like getting the point across that these people don't go into it willingly. They don't just stumble across an ad on Facebook. Like, a lot of the leaders will have you say, oh, I saw this ad on Facebook and I decided to start selling mascara. No, that's not how it happened. It's, you were probably targeted and groomed and you didn't realise it. And that's like trying to get that point across. That's how this is happening. It's like these are actively going out on social media and targeting these groups and trying to get them into these companies and trying to get them to drop the best part of £200 a month.
No, I mean, it's important to add in terms of the leaders that you're talking about. They typically will join the same as anyone else. But the difference between somebody who gets to leadership level organically and somebody who doesn't is just a case of personality. And if you consider we're all good at different things, that one person who happens to join just happens to be kind of charismatic, confident to go live, and able to go out there and keep going live and be endearing, get people in, get people following them. And that was their thing that they're good at, right?
Yeah.
That was their thing that they're good at. All the other people, that wasn't their thing. Because this is the thing you need to be good at to get all the people in. So no, not everybody can. And only a small percent of people, 1%, have that talent. Others have talents in other things. So that's what I want to get across. Most people do join, because that's their whole thing, isn't it? I joined at the same level as you. If I can do it, you can too. It's not true. It's absolutely not true.
It's true for some, but it is for some that have grown organically. And it just makes me so mad when I see those people that say they've grown their team organically, and it's like, no, you fucking haven't. You were handed it to you, and you got yourself
for the ones that were.
Don't give me the sob story. It's bullshit.
So when Sinead is saying about, we're talking about organically and people being given to people, this isn't supposed to happen. So to grow a team organically, for anyone who doesn't know.
This doesn't happen, by the way.
Oh, this never happens, but until it does.
Yeah.
So somebody who grows their team organically will typically be a person who enters the same as everyone else. They happen to be very charismatic, confident to go live, good at sales, but not selling products, selling opportunity. And they're able to suck people in, large amounts of people, grow an audience and suck people in. That's their thing. But then when we're talking about people who are not doing it that way, these are typically people who will join an organisation, easily corruptible, and corporate side of that organisation will recognise that this person is easy to control, will do as what's asked, and they will reward that person by placing people underneath them in the pyramid scheme. This was very rife in Urban Retreat, and both the parallel companies, which were TS Life and then Reminiscence. This happened, it's notorious. Can't comment on other companies, but we know it happened in these. So, of course, owners...
I know it's happened in a few other companies.
Oh, yeah.
But, yeah, I've witnessed firsthand, like, people being handed
teams.
I will say, I wouldn't class Rosie as being handed a team.
No, I think she's more organic.
She has built that following herself, so I definitely wouldn't class Rosie as being... And I know people say that when B3 left, she got theirs, but I think Rosie did enough herself to justify where she was. I really do.
Well, I think she was given... I mean, just for context, there was two ladies who formed part of the organisation together called B3. If you can imagine, there were two ladies, but they were almost... It was like one entity, and beneath the one entity called B3 was the downline, the pyramid, right? So when these two ladies exited the company, whoever didn't leave with them, because this is what leaders leave, and then the downline likes to follow. But of course, not everyone. Some people want to stick around. So whoever then sticks around is without an upline, without a leader almost. So those people are gathered together and given to another leader. They should naturally just regress up to the next person underneath, but they're then gathered together and given to a leader. So in the case of when the entity which was known as B3 went, whoever was left was gathered together and put under another leader called Rosie. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Essentially, yeah.
Well, as I say, I think Rosie was a big enough entity herself then that, for anyone to say that she got where she was because she had a team placed on, and we know where that came from. We know exactly where that came from. One of the other kinds of leaders. Yeah.
I mean, I'll say names. We say first names. Sinead, it's important. Sinead has a right to share her thoughts and ideas. This is protected under the Human Rights Act, the right to expression. We also have the right to impart information. The information that we are imparting today has the potential to save thousands of people, in fact, hundreds at least, from this, who may have been in the same position as Sinead, and to expose tactics used by those at leadership levels who have many hundreds of people underneath them, very indoctrinated by them. So we have a right to talk about this, right? These people who we are naming are very prominent and high profile within this industry, certainly within this the UK. We are not mentioning names of people who are very private. These are people whose Facebooks are fully open, fully exposed, and they are fully out there. right? So we are protected under the right of freedom of expression to discuss this. And what Sinead is referring to is individuals such as Hannah Pierce, who is in corporate level now, who, let's say, spread a lot of potential misinformation in regards to the other leader, Rosie, who she was in conflict with.
I just think she was very jealous because Rosie could do it organically and she couldn't. Rosie's a likeable person.
Rosie's a very likeable person. Rosie's very charismatic, for anyone who doesn't know her. She's very smiley on her lives. She's enjoyable to watch. She comes on the morning. She'll brighten your morning up. I mean, I say that as somebody, she doesn't even like me. So I'm just being honest. I'm being objective. I'm just saying it as I see it. Hannah, on the other hand, again, I would have motive to say more unpleasant things, but I'm just going to be completely honest. Hannah not as likeable. Hannah not as endearing. Rosie is more out there. What you see is what you get. Hannah is more about desperate to portray an image of perfection and look at me. Yeah. You look at me. Exactly. And you can, it's the vibe. It's a vibe. Rosie has a far more likeable and endearing vibe. So quite naturally, people are drawn to Rosie. Now, this isn't to say that nobody wants to join somebody like Hannah. Of course, somebody wants to join somebody like Hannah. But of course, nowhere near the quantity of people will join somebody like Hannah as will Rosie. And it was obviously an awareness. However, Hannah, having close connections with the owner, Christopher John Hilliard Miller, was at an advantage because people could be placed underneath her. And then subsequently she was put in a corporate role. So that's what we're talking about.
I think it was just I think that's where the root sort of started between Hannah's major dislike for Rosie, I think, because I think Hannah thought she may have got the B3 team and then she didn't. So, I think that was a little bit of a shock to the system. But that was the first real sort of, when sort of bitchiness started there, that was my first sort of real, this isn't what I signed up for. I didn't sign up for like this backbiting. And you were hearing conflict and things from like, I was in Rosie's downline and from people in Hannah's downline about different things that would happen.
I think what perhaps Hannah doesn't understand, perhaps Rosie doesn't either, but John has a high social awareness. He does understand how things go. And as if you can remember, we talked about these are the people left over. That he needs to do something with these people that are left over, and he doesn't want to lose any more of these people. So Christopher John Hilliard Miller is known as John Miller. John must put these people with somebody who will be capable of keeping them there. And his best bet was to place them with, he had to make a pragmatic decision. It's about money. He doesn't want to lose money. So John had to make the decision to place these individuals with a leader who was going to have the best chance of keeping them within the company. And as we talked about before, that's going to be the leader who's putting out the enjoyable content, who's keeping them sucked in, who's making them like her. And unfortunately, with the best will in the world, Hannah did not have these capabilities. She just didn't. John couldn't just keep, when he's got to make a decision like this, he has to make a decision on what's best for his bank balance. So Hannah's probably very upset that he didn't choose her for all she's doing for him. But the reality is, they would have slipped away one by one because she didn't have what Rosie had.
To
retain them. Exactly. Sadly. So whereas John was giving her many people, these many people tended to have their own leaders who could keep them. He couldn't give them a group of people who needed somebody to keep them because she didn't have that capacity like Rosie. So if you see what I mean.
Totally get it. Totally.
So your leader was Rosie.
I initially was signed up under a girl over here in the Isle of Man. And then when B3 left, she went with them. So I rolled up to a lovely guy called Lee David. He went to FM after the Freeman's debacle, and him and Per Kirsty, I think, got some...
We will get to the Freemans. Sorry, carry on. I'm just telling people.
when he left, I rolled up to Rosie, but I got very, very well with Rosie, and that was when I sort of rediscovered again my sort of, because I'd gone off the boil a little bit when there'd been the sort of bitchiness and I'd gone up, but then after a week or two with Rosie, I was like, right, I'm back into this, and I was, so I got into
she's good, isn't she? She's inspiring, and this is it. This is why she has the success, because she's that person. She's very, very good at it.
Yes, very, very. And I sort of got my love back, and I was like, I wasn't making mega bucks or anything like that. Like, I wasn't making mega sales, but I was doing enough to sort of get by. But, the reality of it, I wasn't taking into account what I was reinvesting every month.
Because I would like to come to when you finally worked it out, Sinead, because that's going to be a bit of a... So we won't do that yet. First, we'll talk about what it was like, and then we'll come to that, because that's going to be...
Yeah, so I sort of felt like I wasn't making mega bucks or anything, but I was doing enough to get by. And then lockdown was when I really sort of really got into it at the beginning, and then it tailored off a bit when everyone went back to work and that. But then I got back into it again after the B3 girls left, and I was under Rosie, and I was like, right, yeah, let's do this. No, I love the products. I dread to think of what they have now done to my liver and kidneys, but I was talking to you about my liver, about some of those live products. I enjoyed it. I really fell into it. I loved what I did. I loved my team. We didn't have a big team. I think there was about 15, 20 of us.
Were these people under you, or were they just alongside you?
Under me. One girl was alongside me. She, when did we have the big reshuffle? I think that was after everyone went to Science. So I've been working with her on a team building thing, which Charlie and the B3 girls had organised, and it was to mix teams up to get them to, because we were always, so I got to know, and she's actually become a really, really good friend, and she ended up being moved over to my team, but everyone else was people I'd recruited, or people that...
So you had 15 underneath you. That's very impressive. So that's really important for what we're going to come to in a sec. So Sinead had 15 individuals underneath her. How many of those were active?
Probably 5, 6.
So she had 15 underneath her who were kind of not really doing a heck of a lot, maybe buying something every now and again for themselves, or maybe selling the odd thing. But then there was sort of 5 or 6 who were meeting the quota. How much would that have been?
God, I think it was 175 a month was to get you qualified.
Yeah, so this is the thing they say about you don't have to have any, but realistically 170 odd is to make you active, to make you relevant, to make you a person that is going to get any attention. And to be that's called active, being an active person.
To get a shout out.
To get a shout out, to get all the praise, to get everything that psychologically a majority or a good portion of people join purely for, right? Not only about making money. Yeah. So Sinead, out of 15, she had about 10 who were just doing whatever, whenever, not really doing, but 5 of them were on it. They were on it, trying.
I wouldn't badger my team to make sales or anything like that. I was more about having a bond with everyone and getting that sort of team vibe, as opposed to, we must meet these quotas. I think that was probably my downfall, maybe, I don't know.
You can't, if you haven't got that thing in you that's going to pressurise people, there is 1% of people who earn money. Now, this doesn't mean they earn a fortune. That's just earning anything and not losing, right? The rest, the 99%, earn nothing or lose. I mean, what we're going to come to in a minute. Normally, once they look at absolutely all the costs that they've put in, they are making a loss. Even if they didn't realise they were making a loss, it comes out that they were. So for Sinead to only have even 15 underneath her, that put her nowhere near the 1%. She was very much into the 99%. So important to add, underneath every big leader who is in the 1%, you have the pyramid underneath them. Within this pyramid underneath them, you would get people like Sinead just in there with her little tiny pyramid underneath her, which was her, her little group of 15 underneath her, 5 of whom are at it. In this 5, there might be a couple that have got people in and out. This is how this kind of works. Yeah. Pyramids with little mini pyramids between great big pyramids. So the pyramid under the leader with little pyramids underneath it, and then that leader's pyramid would be part of an even wider pyramid. So it's pyramids in pyramids in pyramids. Just remember that.
And then the Reminiscence and Freeman's debacle hit.
So can I just add context to this before you go on?
My
right.
God.
I'm going to try and keep this as brief as possible. So for Sinead, right, Sinead is in urban retreat. She's in urban retreat. This is it. She's just doing whatever in urban retreat. Unbeknownst to Sinead, what has been going on in Christopher John Hilliard Miller's parallel enterprise is not good. He has a parallel enterprise known as TS Life. And there is real trouble brewing in TS Life. He's making a load of money in TS Life. But it's gone under investigation now for being an illegal pyramid scheme. Sinead and others like her are totally oblivious. As far as Sinead is concerned, this is a completely separate organisation. It's got nothing to do with them. But it has. So what then happens is, if you can imagine from the perspective of these people like Sinead, suddenly, one day, they're told everything's changing. There's this reminiscence. Reminiscences started, right? Now, what had gone on is John had to close TS Life down due to this investigation occurring. TS Life had been placed in the name of another individual called Robert Caius Hale, who was also very much in the control of John. John had then brought all software, all everything under the umbrella of Urban Retreat by Acti Labs. So it was now another brand alongside the Urban Retreat brand. Now, none of the people had any idea, like Sinead, what was going on. One day, there's now reminiscence here. Come out of the ether. Where's that come from? What is this?
It was so out of the blue. It was like one day it was like Hannah was the rep's rep.
So Hannah was in corporate at this point.
Yeah,
And then suddenly...
all of a sudden, it's like one day it's like, no, Anna's gone to Remy. It's like, what? It was literally like somebody just clicked their fingers and we were in a parallel universe. All of a sudden, this company, and there was a lot of rumours about Urban Retreat being shut down. But Rosie gave her a due. She stood her ground on that. She refused to go. And point blank, she was like, no, why should I move? And I fully believe the screenshots came from Hannah about Rosie having a leg.
So what Sinead's talking about, Rosie having a leg, at the beginning of Reminiscence, screenshots emerged showing the pyramid, showing everyone in the pyramid, and it showed Rosie in the pyramid. It actually showed her in the pyramid. And she flat out denied that it was her that was in there. She said he hadn't joined, but there were these screenshots, and these screenshots were being used as evidence to prove that even Rosie had moved over, regardless of the fact that Rosie was denying it.
I mean, the reality is anybody can sign up somebody and put a name in there and call it Rosie Alty. This is the reality. Now, I do believe that Rosie had no intention, and I do believe she was being truthful about that. So just to add more context to what Sinead is referring to, suddenly, as Sinead said, there's this reminiscence that has appeared out of absolutely nowhere. And everybody is now being told that the expectation is that they retreat from Urban Retreat and they join the Reminiscence, which is the TS Life pyramid scheme that's gone under investigation. It's just the continuation of it. They don't know this. Yeah. And suddenly one day, Hannah Pierce, who had been in corporate, had announced live that she was now so enamoured with Reminiscence, and she'd seen all these products, that she just had to leave her very secure corporate job that she'd moved the earth to accept, moving her whole entire family. Suddenly, this Reminiscence was just so compelling and so incredible that she just had to leave her corporate job and go back into the field as a rep for Reminiscence. So, of course, this was a massive shock to people. Everyone knew it was her dream to be in corporate. including myself. So this was a massive shock to people. She'd gone live. You could see how devastated she is. This was a really weird feeling to everyone. This didn't.
So straight. And again, I didn't know the full ins and outs of everything. I found your page. I didn't know. I didn't know the sort of truth of it all. But it was just that, because this is what the cult mentality does. It takes away your gut feeling, your ability to read your gut feeling.
Yeah.
It's like you'll have this icky feeling in your stomach, but because you don't have the confidence to speak up or trust your own gut anymore, because you've basically just been brainwashed.
Yeah.
You know something's not right, but you're like, oh, well, everyone else seems happy. Everyone else seems okay. Okay, maybe I'm just imagining.
Gaslighting.
You convince yourself you're going insane.
Yeah.
You're like, no, I'm just imagining this. But it was like, what? Like, is anybody else not thinking this is really, really weird?
And of course they were. But again, every single other individual is thinking the same as you. Well, look, everyone else seems on board. Everyone else seems to be, but it and this is where, so we've got this random new company has landed. And for some reason, all of these people like Sinead are being expected to, without question, leave Urban Retreat and join this reminiscence company. Just join it. Look, Hannah and Grace have joined. Grace is another leader at leadership level, very into Urban Retreat. If Grace is joining and Hannah's joining, what the hell is going on?
It was just, again, like as I say, I can't describe the feeling, but it was like something's wrong. I don't know what, but why is nobody else reacting to this? Like, is nobody else going to say, like, but because you just want to be liked, and because I wasn't like anywhere near as healed, I hadn't gone through therapy anywhere near as much then, so like I didn't know I had the ability to speak out or walk away from things that made me feel icky. But it's like, it's so surreal. It's like, is nobody going to say this? Are we all just going to sit here and be okay with this?
Where's the Emperor's new clothes, Sinead? And there isn't, you need the little boy to come and tell the Emperor's got no clothes on, and until that happens, everyone's just there like, you know?
Look and going, But yeah, and then I think that was around the same time as the Freeman's debacle.
So let's move on to this.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
So Sinead, from your perspective, now you were in that group, from your perspective, explain, I mean, it was coined as Freeman Gate. Explain Freeman Gate.
Again, you know, bumbling along, minding my own business one day, going to check the community group because, you know, just to see if there's any company announcements or if there's any training and things on that night. And one of the reps is supposed to go and I see it, and she was kicking off to high heaven. She was like, I've seen our products in Freeman's catalogue. What is going on? You know, what the hell? Basically asking John to explain. Radio silence. Nothing. Everyone's kicking off on the post. I'm like, what? And then all of a sudden we realise all our photos have been given. So all our photos are on all these catalogues' websites. My ass was on there.
Really?
Yes, my ass was on there.
Right, this is so bad. Go on, because I'm going to add a bit of context to that when you...
Basically, to cut a long story short, he'd signed an agreement with the catalogues, hadn't he? He'd agreed to go in the catalogues, but hadn't told any of us. Basically, they were offering payment plans as well. So how the hell were any of the consultants going to be able to sell anything where, like, people could just, like, you know, you're on there ordering your Freeman stuff. Oh, look, I'll get that 3D corrector cream. Oh, I can get, and they can do the payment plans. You know, we can't offer credit. And he'd done this without any of the reps' knowledges, but given all the photos as well, like given them full permission to use all our photographs, which we put in a private community group on Facebook to share with our, I'm sure, did Hannah take them from the lifestyle?
I've got no idea. All I know, Sinead, is similar to you. initially. So I'm getting screenshots. Now remember, everyone, Reminiscence has just landed, and this is weird. Now,
I'm sure it was about a week or so after.
yeah, suddenly, in the same kind of time, everyone has just found out that the Urban Retreat products are featuring in not only the Freeman's catalogue, but other associated catalogues. I think it was like Look. So all the catalogues that were owned by Freeman's were also listing these products.
There was about 4 or 5 they were in.
But to make matters 1,000 times worse, so now the reps have seen these, betrayal, the sense of betrayal, because it's like, hold on a second, we're supposed to be distributing that. That's our thing, isn't it? That this isn't sold in shops. This is sold by us reps. And not only that, but we struggle enough as it is to make sales because the products are quite expensive. But if you've got them in a catalogue like Freeman's, they can offer credit to people. So people have got no incentive to get it from us anymore. They just go to the Freeman's if they really want these products. And then to add, I don't even want to say insult to injury because this is worse than any insult. The private pictures that the reps themselves have made of themselves, and they've taken, if you can imagine, before and after pictures showing like this is me before the 3D corrector, which is a type of foundation, and this is me after. These pictures had been placed in the private community group, and occasionally, of course, permission would be given to other reps to use those images to help them make sales. But what had happened was Urban Retreat Corporate had gone into that private group without anyone's permission, taken all of this media that the reps had produced, and then handed it over to the Freeman's catalogue for them to market the products with, for their purposes, to help Freeman's make sales. This wouldn't benefit any of the reps. And this was an outrage. They were absolutely mental about this.
So you would have thought that would have been my final, but no, there's brainwashed little sin still bumbling away. He came up with what was his piss poor excuse for that? What was his...
I can tell you.
Did he try and blame Hannah? Can he say Hannah?
I don't know.
At the expo?
He didn't try and blame Hannah. What he did was, Sinead, he literally just came in the group and said that he had absolutely no idea how Freeman's got them, that somehow Freeman's had managed to get these pictures and he didn't know how, and it had been a terrible mistake, taking no responsibility, right? But he had essentially, without outright saying it, he had insinuated that this was Freeman's responsibility. And as a consequence of that, several of the ladies whose pictures had appeared in Freeman's, who were still very indoctrinated, had then contacted Freeman's themselves and kicked off and said, how dare you use our pictures? You've stolen our accused Freeman's of stealing their pictures. Consequently, cut a long story short, after a lot of nonsense and BS, Urban Retreat by Acti Labs was kicked out of the Freeman's. They were removed, ejected, banned. The contract was off. You are not allowed. And everything was then taken off the Freeman's site. Never to be seen on the Freeman's site again.
But it was just, again, it's the answers from him. Like, any time you query something with John, and looking back over my time, it's like when anybody's questioning, he gives you a non-answer. It's like there's always excuses. There's always, well, this person or this person, this, and I can't do this without this person. And it's even like the discontinued product, which we all know are falling out with suppliers or him not paying bills.
Yeah.
But it's like, oh well, we're having problems with that supplier. They can't get it specific ingredient and things like that. And just say you've fallen out with a supplier, for God's sake. We probably respect you a little bit more than just say, right, we're not having that product back because, well, I can't be arsed sourcing where else to get it, and I've fallen out with him. So
there's been a breakdown in the business relationship. Everyone understands this, you know. We can't agree on. Unfortunately, I'm trying to get the best price for you all, but he can't admit that. I'm trying to get the best price for you all, but we cannot negotiate on this, and negotiations have broken down, and consequently now this product has been withdrawn. End of.
Yeah, but it's just all the little petty excuses over the years, like as I say, the non-answer answers.
Yeah.
You just never get a straight answer from him. It's always like he'll go off on a tangent, and before you know it, you're like, what were we talking about again? But luckily, I never had any dealings directly with him, thankfully.
I mean, we're talking about communications that you observed in the group, and obviously via, say, Rosie, who did have communications with him.
I don't think he was ever truthful with Rosie about things.
No, I don't. I don't think, from obviously stuff I've heard with my own ears, I do believe that Rosie was as indoctrinated as others in terms of the legality of the situation, in terms of how things were going. Vastly different to, I think, Hannah Pierce, who I believe was very much involved in everything and knew everything, but not Rosie. And that suited John, because it's like the expression, the best drugs mules don't know that they're carrying the drugs, isn't it? The best ones, they're the ones that you've secretly put them in the suitcase and they're walking through customs. They don't know, so they look, so it's believable, because they don't even know they've got them. So it suited John for Rosie to really believe in something and have no idea that there was anything unscrupulous going on, because then she was more convincing, because everyone looked up to her and she was the one, she was the best one, the best he had, you know. So in terms of obviously the Freemans, we're now getting a bigger picture. John's trying to get everyone into reminiscence, while now he's selling his products in a corporate environment, in a legitimate environment such as Freeman's. So it's looking very much like he doesn't want Urban Retreat to be a multi-level marketing company anymore. But he doesn't want to lose his reps.
He doesn't want the reps. I think he doesn't want the reps. He wants the reps, but he doesn't want the reps because he doesn't like having to deal with the reps, even though he loves the drama and he's in the middle of the drama most of the time. But he doesn't want the hassle of the reps squabbling, and when they all go running to him, I think that's what he hates. It's like, oh, sort it out yourselves. But it's, he's at this point, it's looking like he's trying to get rid of the reps.
For some reason. And, you know, he's got them in Freeman's. However, all of this was also happening whilst I was exposing Reminiscence as the continued pyramid scheme. So there's him trying to do all this behind the scenes. Now remember, Sinead has no idea who I am. She's never been on my page. She knows, she knows nothing. And many like her know absolutely nothing. But I am, of course, whilst all this is going on, saying about all of this going on, as is my human right to do so. And I'm exposing Reminiscence for being the continued pyramid scheme, whilst also it emerges that the products which are labelled vegan friendly and halal are not. So a plan that John had to continue his pyramid scheme TS Life, get all his Urban Retreat reps into the continued pyramid scheme, whilst making his Urban Retreat brand very legit and without any MLM connections, is all going horribly wrong for him. It's going horribly wrong. This wasn't what was planned. You know, the whole of, almost all of 2022, I hadn't even done anything multi-level marketing. I'd been very much focusing on my TikTok and other things. So in John's mind, I was gone. And suddenly I'm back because I'm exposing Reminiscence. It's a pyramid scheme. So it's going terribly, awfully, horribly wrong for him. So we're hurtling towards March now. By this point, Hannah has thrown the Reminiscence towel in, and she's thrown the Reminiscence towel in, and she's moved back to Urban Retreat. She's just a rep in Urban Retreat now, and it's all going wrong. And he's got to keep Urban Retreat going because the Freeman's plan has failed. So he's had to keep that going.
He's also relaunching in America.
Of course.
Remember he started that, and that was really confusing as well. It was like, but why are you launching it? We're already there. Why are you launching it? What? Again, it's one of those moments. It's like, is anybody else like not realizing the bullshit that's coming out here?
So they'd been in America since 2016, but suddenly they're doing a big relaunch in America.
Like, and it's a new company.
Yeah, like it hadn't been particularly big in America, but been trundling along with its little pool of USA reps. But suddenly they're going big in America. Ooh, get all these people in. Right? So that was also, I mean, with that, what sort of time was that when he was doing that, Sinead?
Was that around January, February? It was just before the fire, wasn't it?
Right.
I'm sure it was just bore the fire. So it could even have been November, December 22.
But
I'm sure it was pretty much
it was towards that time. So we'll move forward. All these very strange things have been going on. His plans to have this parallel company, the continuation of TS Life, has gone absolutely to SHIT because it's been exposed for being the continued pyramid scheme, as well as being exposed for violating the human rights of vegans and Muslims. Muslims were realising that, I mean, it was absolutely horrendous what had come out about Reminiscence. Horrendous. And it had come to nothing. Everyone it was not worth anything anymore.
Fell on its ass, didn't it?
Yeah. But at the same time, Urban Retreat is not doing particularly well either now.
Again, I'm still in the...
You're still in it.
I'm still in my little bubble mode, and it's like bumbling along, and I'm doing, you know, I've got my regular customers, I've got my own bits that I use, so I'm not just trundling along and, you know, picking up a little bit, and then, was it the 12th of March?
I think it was the 13th of March. So 10th of March, Christopher John Hilliard Miller, aka John Miller, signed a deal with another multi-level marketing company called Organo to sell the brand Reminiscence. We move forward to Monday, the 13th of March.
That's it.
Take it away, Sinead.
I've been out with the dog, come back in. It was like, I think it was about 10:15. Might have been half day. It was mid-morning anyway. Sat down, I thought, I'll check my phone. There was a post from Hannah in the group. The UK distribution centre was on fire. And it was on fire badly. Now, obviously my initial thought is everybody okay? Hope nobody's injured. It was destroyed. Luckily, everyone got out okay, which is the main thing. But that was it. Everything gone up in smoke. Everything we'd worked for, it was our businesses gone. What we thought were our businesses gone, absolutely gone, and there was no support provided by the company whatsoever. There was radio silence for John for I don't know how long. He was telling Rosie one thing, he told Tina and Hannah another. Then he said Rosie was a liar, that he hadn't told her that. There was just such odd behaviour from him and a few others after that fire that didn't sit right with me. It was just odd behaviour. There was no, you know, he didn't come into the community group at all just to say, look, I know you're all probably pretty shook up, thankfully everyone's okay, whatever. No, nothing. I think he did take the time to film it at one stage, though, the fire, didn't he?
Filmed the whole thing, Sinead. He filmed it from start to finish. He filmed it from the beginnings of the smoke coming out, to the fire alarms, to going around the building. He video recorded the whole entire event.
I can't. I know our neighbour's house went on fire a couple of years ago, and the furthest thing from anyone's mind was filming the fire. It was like, is everybody okay? It was the radio silence that got me. There was nothing. There was, you know, he could have popped a note in the community group just to say, it's been a tough day. I'll come in and speak more tomorrow. But there was nothing. And I think it was about a week or so till he finally came in and spoke. And in the meantime, he'd be telling
I think he did do a little live outside. Did he not do a little live outside on the fire to show everyone the fire?
Yeah.
He did do a live. So I got set. So in
own Facebook, that might have been on his own personal profile. Can't remember.
I'm not certain. I know that a live video emerged. I believe it was a live video where he was presenting the fire. He was showing everyone the fire in amongst his constant videoing. In amongst his filmmaking, he was he made a live for the reps to show them the terrible fire. And then once he'd done that, he went back to gathering footage of the fire.
Yes, there was no clear communication to the reps, I would say, for at least a week after the fire. And obviously, you know, you're thinking, God, you know, at this point, I'm all in at this stage. I'm still believing the bullshit.
You must be devastated.
I was absolutely devastated. And then to be told it's going to take at least 6 to 8 months to rebuild. There was no thought for anyone. And then eventually, I think a few days later, or about a week later, he was like, "Well, you have my blessing if you want to go somewhere temporarily." All right, John, I've got your blessing to go and provide for my family, have I?
I love his blessings. So this was the way Sinead felt was very mirrored the way a lot of them were feeling at the time. So one day they wake up in the morning on a Monday morning, and there is a blazing inferno, and the whole UK urban retreat warehouse is burning to the ground. And within this warehouse is all the Urban Retreat by Acti Labs products, which include the brand Reminiscence. All the Reminiscence products are up in flames. Everything is up in flames. All the Reminiscence products that were illegally labelled vegan friendly are all up in flames now. And John has been busy gathering footage of the fire. He's gone live about the fire, while simultaneously all these I call them victims, are not that they have suffered the most devastating blow. This whole thing that they were totally and utterly obsessed with, their whole life, everything revolved around this. Yes, it was a cult, but it was their thing. It was what they'd attached themselves to. It was the meaning. They were indoctrinated this way. Yes, but their brains were still anchored around this, around Urban Retreat. It was what they woke up for. It was what they attributed everything in their lives to, because it was their cult. To suddenly be told, it's gone, it's in flames now, and what we're going to do, the cult is off. The cult is off for now. The cult's over for a period of time. Not sure how long. Maybe a few months, maybe 8 months, maybe we just don't know. You can join another cult in the meantime. It's up to you. But for now, see ya.
Yeah, basically, that was it. It was like there just seemed to be no empathy or compassion from him at all. Like, no understanding of what we were going through. It was all about him, and it was all about, you don't understand what I'm having to do. You reps don't understand. You don't understand the pressure. Well, we know the pressure he's under because you've created this shitstorm by yourself, John. It's like, you know, that's why you're under pressure, because you've told so many lies. You've done so many horrid things to people. You are now in this situation, but yet he's just like,
it's all about me. What about me?
Nothing to him.
And all of the people like yourself who have been enabling him to live this luxurious lifestyle for all these years, suddenly their part in this is unimportant, because it's all about the business that he's worked so hard for, actually.
Yeah.
It's all about his business that he's worked so hard for, and how does everyone think he feels about this terrible thing that's happened to him. Give him a break. For God's sake.
So, like, you don't understand the amount of pressure I'm going through, do you? Like, it was that attitude, like when we'd asked for like an update or anything. So I think it was about a month or so after the fire. I was in a group chat, and again, this leader is not a bad leader. I don't think she is. I don't think this person's a bad person. I think this person is just so goddamn loyal to this man that they can't see it. Somebody posted a watchdog post into the group.
Was it watchdog or me?
It was one of your videos, but it was a watchdog. But it was the actual watchdog page had posted it. All of a sudden, the reaction from this. What? There's a court case. What? You're not allowed to look at this. Get that woman out of this group. This is disgusting. Don't share it. And I'm like, what the f*** is that reaction all about? And then all of a sudden, I don't know what it was in me. Something just went, that reaction was wrong. You've told me not to look at that. So I'm going to go and God's
Of course. So.
What here?
Tina, I don't know what post that Sinead is referring to. But of course.
I can't remember now.
People like Tina at leadership level know who I am, right? They know who I am. People like Sinead, some may have seen something and thought, ooh, I'm scared, I won't go near that. But some were oblivious, utterly oblivious to myself. There is another, it was called the Reminiscence Watchdog page, which was set up to expose the TS Life Pyramid Scheme, and then it started exposing the Reminiscence Pyramid Scheme, but would share a load of my content. So they were oblivious to this. No idea that it existed. Until one day, Tina had seen something or something was going on, and she's landed in the group chat with this information and showing a post from the Reminiscence Watchdog page, which of course has shared all my content all over it. So you see the Reminiscence Watchdog page, you're just going to see me really quickly. And Sinead has suddenly seen this and been like, what the hell is this?
That was my wake-up moment. I just thought, and as I say, I don't think Tina is a bad person at all. She really isn't. I think she's just so loyal to John that, again, she's in that brainwash mode and he's got, as you said before, he's got to keep people like that don't know the full ins and outs of his horribleness, because he needs to keep that blind faith, doesn't he? He needs to keep that the illusion alive. But yeah, there was something in me just thought that reaction's not right, so off I went. Oh my God, it was, I say now, it was the best day and it was the worst day of my life, because it suddenly dawned on me all those non-answer answers we'd get in response to things like the Freemans, like the Reminiscence, like how many months, whether it was 6 months, 8 months, what did you tell me, why we never got it. And it all started to make sense why we never got a straight answer from John. And I think I locked myself away when I found that video, for I think it was about 3 weeks solid. And I watched everything. I watched the whole thing unfold from start to finish. And then I've done it recently. I said to you, didn't I? I'd gone back and got all my old notes from like company Zooms and things like that. And I've watched them all back and I've gone, all right, so that makes sense why that product's gone. That makes sense why he couldn't answer that. That's what that, you know. And it was horrible, that moment, because I was so scared, because then I was starting to realise what was happening to you and anyone else who had spoken out against what was going on, and the things that were going on at TS Life and some of the things that were going on at Urban Retreat. And it got to a point where, like, I'd be afraid to open my phone in the mornings because I was worried they'd know I'd seen the page, and I'd be and it, like, you can't describe that fear to someone unless you've known being afraid to open to even look at your phone, because you just worried, like, every time a message would go, it'd be like, oh my God, is it one of the Hun bots? Like, because we know how they like to gang up and abuse people that don't agree with the cult. They like to target people and form a big bully group about it, don't they?
So I'm thinking, did you say this was like July time?
Yeah, it was, because I only know because we were going to the Wizard of Oz press night in London, myself and Michelle, so it was for my birthday, so I only know the date it was. But yeah,
So
that was when I told Michelle.
July 23, so I'd been arrested in the April. So for context, after my exposure of reminiscence, mainly, of course it was linked to Urban Retreat in the fact that it was the same thing, but it was mainly focused on this pyramid scheme, what we knew was a pyramid scheme. John had enlisted a solicitor who specialised in stalking called Rachel Horman-Brown. Rachel Horman-Brown had gone into West Midlands Police to convince them to open an investigation. They were then busy finding, Caius was enlisted, Hannah was enlisted. Caius was enlisted on this side, Hannah was enlisted on this side to recruit people to make police reports about me, alleging that I had personally stalked them. Rachel had gone in, assured police this was real. I had been suffering no end of harassment all this time from them from doing this. However, in April, I was then arrested with these allegations. It sparked an investigation which spanned till November. Well, it went beyond that, but I was charged in November. So by July, so it was April, May, June, say June or July, it was July?
July.
So this was 3 months into the investigation. I had, of course, been putting out the content about how I was feeling and all these things. So Sinead's gone on my Facebook, a person that has spoken out, and I guess it was the SHIT show of the century that was unfolded before your eyes.
Again, I've not really spoken about it a lot because, trying to explain even a portion of what's gone on to anyone who doesn't know MLM or how the MLM industry works, they look at you like, nah.
Yeah.
You're bonkers, nah, that doesn't happen. But, watching the actual reality of what had been going on, it was just horrendous. It was horrendous. And to know that there was somebody like you who is fighting so hard to get the real truth out there, and that they could just go in to a police station and make absolute bullshit claims, and for it to be even taken seriously after what they have put so many people through was just an utter joke. It's an absolute joke. But again, watching what had happened to you unfold sort of leaves you terrified into silence because you don't want to speak out. You don't want to say, well, this is my experience of that, because you're just so scared of them coming for you.
This is the threats that were made to people, Sinead, were, of course, a newspaper article went out, and people from within both organisations were using this media, this newspaper article, and this Twitter post from West Midlands Police to terrify people, to say, look what we've done to her. This is what will happen to you. This will be you next. Now, of course, it wouldn't have been, logically, to somebody in your position or anyone else, but the fear that they have, of course, got this power, these connections, and of course everyone was distinctly aware that there was corruption going on and somebody had been paid, but the idea that this organisation could have this great level of power to orchestrate something so horrific was terrifying to me even.
It's just terrifying, the fact that they didn't even pay a second, they can just blatantly just go in and lie so freely to police just because what you've exposed a pyramid scheme.
Well, yeah.
That's quite a scary. The gravity of that just alone is terrifying.
Yeah.
It was initially 13 of them, wasn't it?
I don't know. I think there was 10.
12.
There was 10. I think Grace would have made 11 if she hadn't have dropped out early on. So there was initially 9 that I knew of from the first interview. Then by the day I was charged, Lisa Black's name emerged. Then when I got the documentation, there was Grace's name in there. So that would have made 11 in total. Now, I'm not sure. I know that Hannah was trying to recruit others. It was her responsibility to get people. She had tried to recruit, I know for a fact she had tried to recruit a couple of others who had had issues with in the past, passed on the detective inspector's number and everything. I mean, she was absolutely gung-ho trying to get as many in as what she possibly could against me. But of course, people turned her down. And I don't know if there were others who had turned her down. Don't know. Possibly. I mean, there possibly were. You know, so I'm not sure. Like, I do often wonder if Tina was approached. And that's another thing I do think of Tina, if she had have been approached, because I'd called out Tina after she came on one of my lives. So I do often think about Tina. Did Tina say no to this? And if she did, wow, you know, this was a big thing for her to do. So I will always say that of her. But yes, so I mean, I don't want to make it necessarily about that. I wanted to focus on you and your realizations whilst obviously that was happening, and how you came out of this to the point of like, oh my God, what the hell have I been involved with?
I described it to Michelle one day as feeling like I'd just been put in a washing machine and put on spin over and over and over and over again, when the realization of everything that I'd sort of been involved in hit home. And it was like, Jesus, this is like not just your average little skincare company, is it? It was heartbreaking. It was absolutely heartbreaking. Like, my whole life, everything I'd known for the past 3-4 years was gone. Like, it was bad enough that the fire destroyed that, but then it wasn't just like the building went on fire and we started again. It was like the building went on fire. I found out a massive big ton of crap in between that. And then I had to sort of work through all that and move on. It was like trying to sift through, like, even like my social media is all completely shut down now. It's all private, like, for those specific reasons. I don't want to shut people down who are approaching me with their new business venture, but I just, at this precise moment in time, when anybody approaches me in my inbox with an amazing opportunity, I can't help but be rude. It's like, you've no idea what it's taken to get to this point, to like just to be able to live in the real world again, not live in my phone all the time.
Yeah.
Because that they program you to basically be on your phone 24/7.
Yeah. You have to be. You have to be cut off from everyone who's going to tell you the truth of this.
Exactly.
So, Sinead, I'm just thinking, I know that you have you're married, aren't you? You have a family. For the people who were close to you, how was this impacting on them, and how were they feeling? I mean, obviously throughout what was going on, because we're going to go on to find when you worked out all your expenses, let's say, in a minute. How were they throughout this, and as you were coming out? What was all that going on for the people who loved you?
It was, again, just like, they were so understanding, really, really understanding about it all. I think it was because it had made me so happy, and then it destroyed me as well. So it was like trying to find like I always say, the positives I've taken from it is I found my therapist through that. So that's one reason. And I've done lots of poppies. Yeah. You know,
what Sinead's referring to poppies is we had a discussion. I mean, Sinead's a big Wizard of Oz fan and Wicked fan, and also. And of course, as you know, like, Elphaba ends up being the good one, and she uses poppies. But the reason that poppies are used for the war is because poppies, after the war, the poppy seeds began to germinate because there'd been devastation. Poppy seeds will lie in the land for many, many years, and they will only begin to germinate after there's been disturbance to the land. So after the war, all the battlefields, the land had been so disturbed that all these poppy seeds that had been lying there for years, not germinating, suddenly germinated, and all this beauty grew on top of this devastation. And I say it to Sinead, it's like, and I describe it with my situation, and Sinead says, for the devastation that was left as a consequence of her being a part of this organisation, all these things happened that were so good, so beautiful, that never would have happened. And I describe it like the poppies begin to grow.
After the war.
Exactly. The poppies begin to germinate and grow. And suddenly all these things are now happening as you are beginning to resolve it. Like Sinead's found a therapist. Obviously, I met Sinead. Sinead met me, and I'd say you were good. I've told you things I've never told anyone. All this beauty then occurs, and it's part of a healing process. That it begins becoming. You begin to see beauty in devastation. And obviously Sinead got her therapist, and other things obviously come out of this, which
is good. But it's like, I think the kids are just, well, they're not kids anymore. The youngest will be 20 next month, so not really kids, are they? But it's just nice having me back, having me fully present, like being in a room with me and me not being on my phone, or not using every family opportunity as a photo op for. I need to get a nice photo for Facebook, or I've only done 2 posts today and I need to do, it's things like that, and it's just subtle little things like that don't interfere with family moments now that are nice.
Did your husband used to get annoyed having to take pictures of you? Yeah. Because I hardly ever get him to take pictures of me, but he gets annoyed even for that. I should get a nice picture here for my private Facebook, just for no reason. So he must have got. I was so annoyed of the urban retreat pictures, having to take them all.
Oh, I know. And it was like there's just like stuff, props being all around the house, and having to move things, and having to hold lights, places so you can get good products. But he doesn't miss any of that. None of that.
Oh no! And he's there, like in his brain, probably thinking to himself, "Oh, for God's sake, Sinead!
When is this obsession going to start?
It's a pyramid scheme. It's screaming out of his head." And also, like people like in his family who are just saying it to him, who have seen your posts, they're like, "Do you know you're Sinead? She's actually in a pyramid scheme." He's like, I know, but she's just her thing. Her pyramid scheme.
I'm really thankful that they weren't actually like of the confrontational.
Yeah.
I think for me, especially with my PTSD and the childhood trauma related stuff, it's if someone confronts me, I am very flight or fright, and 9 times out of 10 it comes out as fight. So I'm quite lucky that they've just, but it's been nice. Like things when we went to Tenerife in October, or November it was, just like things like that, like just not constantly being on Facebook, not constantly posting pictures of them every day, not just being present in the moment is like a major big take since moving away from it all.
Living life for the sake of living rather than for the sake of your cult. Everything being attributed. Oh, look, we're in Tenerife. Thanks to my urban retreat business, I can now afford to come on holiday to Tenerife. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. This is very typical. But so, okay, throughout this, and I know we've touched, you've told me about this personally. At some point, you then, as part of the process of moving on, decided to attempt to work out how much you'd earned.
Well, I think it was how much. Was it how much I spent?
Well, I'm putting it that way, but I guess it quickly became that when you started.
How much I spent.
So you basically decided to compile a kind of, I guess, rudimentary balance sheet.
I think it worked out, didn't it? It was minimum. I had spent about £7,000 over the 3 years. That is bare minimum. I know there was a lot more. I would say there was probably about 2,000 more went on that. Probably earned back over the space of 3 years. I would say 2-3 max, if that.
So you earned how much compared to how much you've lost, would you say?
I'd earned, I'm going to be generous and say 3,000 max, say 1,000 a year, and then I'd spend a lot more than that. So yeah, it would be a loss of 4 or 5 grand.
Wow. So
That's not taken into the 3 years I was with Younique, and probably had a load of stock from there as well. So I don't even want to think about that.
So this is really important because, of course, what you earned as you were going along, you weren't taking into consideration your product of the product, the stock you were buying because somebody might need it then and there, and you need to have it, and it's just got to be there. So you were going along, not taking into consideration your expenditures.
That's not even taking it, like, obviously working from home, my internet, my electric, my gas, my petrol when I'd have to go to do deliveries, stuff like that. So yeah.
Yeah. And in total, so Sinead's going along and she's seeing money trickling into her account from what she's earned. Oh, look, I've made a sale. Oh, look, I've got a bit of commission from the 5 people that are selling stuff, which has amounted to very little. And she's seeing this, and she's in her brain, it's working. She's not you're encouraged not to look at these are just your business expense. They need product of the product. But look what you're making, Sinead. However, once Sinead has come out to the point where she's at this point ready, because this is a big thing for somebody to then look at the costs and the losses. I mean, there was already all the everything else, the emotional stuff that's gone on, but you're through a process, and
it was a shock. It was a big shock.
And you've got a therapist as well to help you resolve these things. So many will never get to the point that Sinead got at to even want to know this. So Sinead, with support, was able to look back and try to work it out. And she's calculated a minimum loss of £5,000.
Minimum. That would be bare minimum. That's literally urban retreat. I don't even want to think about what went into Younique. I really don't. We might do that someday.
Well, I mean, that gives people an idea of how this can happen, because it's so important for people who don't understand. Because everyone says about the 99% losing money, and they always, well, how? If you're losing money, wouldn't you just stop doing something? People don't know they're losing money. They don't realise that they're losing the money. And many will never fully realise this.
Until you, I'm embarrassed to say that as well, that I wasn't like more sort of on top of finances, but...
Why would you be? Sinead, why would you, who is not an accountant, not a bookkeeper... You've got to be embarrassed about not having these skills, because I don't have these. Most normal people don't have these skills, because that's what people get bookkeepers for and stuff. Yeah. Most people don't, you're not born with these skills. It's like in your brain, and your indoctrinated brain, well, I've made this out, I'm making money. You're not. What I'm saying is, I don't want you to feel. I don't want to tell you how to feel or anyone else, but personally, I don't think that a person who has fallen into the trap that Sinead has fallen into has a reason to be embarrassed about not bearing these skills.
That was another thing about why I wanted to do this, because it's I want to get rid of that sort of people feeling embarrassed and shame, because it's not, you were a victim, you were an actual victim. I think that's Ian just come home, he's delivering some pallets and Orman's going mental.
Oh, don't worry. Sinead, could I just touch on, because this is another thing that's financially, it was not like you were doing well when this was going on. You know? I mean, it's nobody's what I mean, you thankfully have another income coming into your household. Yeah. But you've obviously expressed to me in the past times when you've been hand to mouth whilst this was going on.
Literally paycheck to paycheck. It was wondering what we were going to do for tea. It was rooting in the freezer surprises that have been in there for about 3 years. Some old mince and potatoes that you cooked. Yeah. There were days like that, and I feel so bad that I put my children through that, but
that wasn't, I want to say that you were a victim. Again, the victims are also the wider family, whilst people like John, are living luxurious lifestyles, there are Sinead and hundreds, if not thousands, I mean, at the peak, there was tens of thousands within this organisation who were the exact same mindset of Sinead, the exact same level of indoctrination. They, in their brains, were absolutely convinced that they were earning money, convinced of it, whilst they were living hand to mouth. They were digging to the bottoms of their freezers to find food. We're talking Sinead had another income. So this is the situation for these women. You've got women on a lot worse off than Sinead, on universal credit, who are having food taken out of their children's mouths, and had been having food taken out of their children's mouths for years, absolutely years, totally indoctrinated in a high control group, no different to a cult. It was operating as a cult, high control group, being left with absolutely nothing, while simultaneously believing that all of their downfalls were totally their own responsibility, totally their own fault, and anything that good happened to them was because they were involved in this. And all they needed to do was work harder. It was working for everyone else. So there was people alongside you, Sinead, who, you know how you said that you were like looking at people and they seemed good. There was people alongside you that might have been going, well, like Sinead's doing really well. You know?
Because you're encouraged you've got to put out this, not perfect, but yeah. It's like you're told to sell the lifestyle. It's the lifestyle you're selling. So it's like you're encouraged. You're not told, but you are encouraged to give an image that you're doing better off than you are. And I would say that a lot of the leaders, again, it's like going for a test drive in the nice Mercedes, but taking a picture and pretending you've bought it.
That's really typical. So just what Sinead said, what a lot of people do, there is a mentality, it's called fake it till you make it. And what the reps are encouraged to do is create an illusion of a lifestyle that isn't their lifestyle, which will encourage others to see them living this fake lifestyle and be drawn in. So what some reps, I mean, this has probably happened loads, they'll go for a test drive in like Sinead says, a Mercedes. They'll have someone record them driving it outside. Look at my lovely new car. It's not their car.
It's not, they're taking it for a test drive.
Yeah, it's not their car. They've got no intention of buying it. They don't have any money to buy it. But of course, the perception is for the people on their Facebook or Instagram or anywhere else that's seeing this is like, wow, Sarah has joined Urban Retreat and she was a single mum like me. She's got a Mercedes now. Whoa, that could be me. So Sinead, we've obviously described how the indoctrination occurs, how you are no different to tens of thousands like you who have fallen prey to, well, this and others, to be honest. I mean, they're not we know that Urban Retreat is a particularly insidious version of what I believe personally is a pyramid scheme from what I've seen and the losses that I've seen. But, you know, officially a multi-level marketing company. Now, I do think, and I'm going to say you're lucky, because you're certainly not lucky, but not many organisations have fires and try and attempt to push a pause button on the cult.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
And
I would say it was the worst day, but the best day.
Do you think that, honestly, had that fire never happened, do you think you'd still be in it?
I don't know. I have asked myself that sometimes. I really have, because I think eventually, if I was meant to find you and find the pages and find the truth, I was going to find it. I think eventually it would have kicked in, especially because Michelle was out of it. I think that was the big, once one of us went, I think the other one was going to go.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I genuinely, it's a question I've asked myself, and I do not know the answer to it. Some days it might be yes, some days it might be no. I don't know.
Wow. Because I do think that obviously that fire was the beginning of the end. you know, for all of it, because essentially you cannot put a pause button on things.
No.
And of course, a lot of the influx had come in during lockdown, and then they attempted to then relaunch August, wasn't it? 2023?
So,
Yeah.
I think so.
But they'd lost their foundational base. They were pretty notorious amongst people at leadership within other companies, because if you can imagine, the companies rely on leaders joining with big swathes of people who come with them. It's good to have the odd one join, but we need leaders to want to come, and it had become very notorious. But for all of the factors that we'd mentioned, I mean, you've got this fire, this lying about veganism, this lying about halal, you've got this police investigation, you've just got this mountain of SHIT that is so many red flags that we just don't even know where to begin. So of course, if you've got the option to join this organisation or one with nothing like that, it's a bit of a no-brainer for leaders who obviously have the responsibility. Which brings us forward to, obviously, we're now spectators. I mean, I like to obviously give my opinion, but we're now spectators. You're a spectator, Sinead, as to what's going on with Urban Retreat, and it's recently been announced by, I sent you the video of John, didn't I? Did I send you?
You did.
So I've obviously seen this video from the group of John. I've shown Sinead. And it's been announced by John. I think Grace has put a video out too. That...
Yeah, I think you said Grace had.
Yeah, essentially... Oh, I'm nosy. I've got to see. Essentially, Urban Retreat has gone into the ground in terms of so many people leaving. Now, I'm not going to say this is all because of what happened with me at all. It was all the stuff we've said, obviously, has occurred, and pharmacy came and they've taken a load. But essentially, it's not able to go on. Leaders aren't joining. So now they've decided to turn themselves into a multi-level marketing company. So if you can imagine, most multi-level marketing companies, you have you, and you can recruit recruits. And depending on how many generations they call it down, you will maybe get 5% of this one, 10% of this one, you know, like this. So now it's just you can recruit another person, and then it ends. You only can earn off the one person you recruit. So it's closer to affiliate marketing. Now I've shared my opinions about that, Sinead. Do you want to start? What do you think this is all about?
I think my personal opinion is that he's trying to do this to pacify the reps, because he can't just close everything up. He's like, he can't just shut it down because there'll be uproar again. They'll be like, what's happening, John? Then he'll have to do the whole explain, and then he'll have to come up with another bullshit excuse. So, you know, I think this is his way of trying to pacify the reps and giving them a little bit of something if they want it. But I think he's trying to wind things up and skip off merrily into the sunset, to be honest.
Yeah, no, I agree with this now, because, you know,
I think he's just tired. I think he's had enough, and he just wants out of it all. And I'm sorry, but after the things he's done to people, why should he just get to skip off back into the sunset and live merrily, happily ever after, with the amount of PTSD and trauma he's left people with, not just from Urban Retreat, but from other things he's done. It's...
Well, exactly. I mean, I wonder if people like Hannah and Grace and Tina realise, because, okay, we don't know for sure, but...
No.
Yeah, it's just an opinion. We're allowed to have. We're entitled to our opinions. We're protected by the Human Rights Act to share our thoughts and ideas about things. We are not saying fact that this is happening. We're saying that we are speculating. But it seems, I mean, to me, if you consider, he knows that the profits were going down because the reps were leaving, which indicates that he knows that it's reps buying the products, which are, I mean, I've said it before. I think I said it to you. He's been going since 2009 for all these years. Surely by this point in time, if these products could compete on, you know, against market forces, you know, with other products from other companies, and I'm talking about not even MLM. It'd be everywhere. You'd have like you'd have loyal customers going back, he wouldn't just be relying on the reps to buy these products, the victims to buy these products. So he must know, is what I'm saying. He must know that he relied on the reps to buy them. But why did the reps buy them? Because they were in the cult, in the indoctrination, they were climbing the pyramid, they were getting the shout out, they were sold the lifestyle. He's taken this away now. He's taken the incentives for the reps to buy things away. He's allowing them to do another multi-level marketing company on the side where we know they have to put all their money in this one. They've got to be the product of the product. They've got to climb this pyramid. Yeah. So surely it stands to reason that he is acutely aware of the fact that it doesn't matter how much commission that you're offering a rep. They still have to make that sale to begin with to get that commission.
Exactly.
You know, for him for this to work, and that's what they were struggling to do in the first place, to sell to other people apart from buying it themselves. But there's no.
So I can't see how this affiliate marketing will work, because when the customers were the reps.
Yeah, exactly. It's not quite it's close to affiliate marketing, but it's still technically multi-level marketing because you've got the second level, but it's closer to affiliate marketing. It's kind of in that direction. But of course, affiliate marketing companies, many affiliate marketing companies don't allow you to advertise their products unless you have like certain level of followers.
Yeah, you've got to have a certain amount of followers.
Because they know that unless you've got, I mean, in the case of TikTok even knows that if you can't get 1,000 people to follow you on TikTok, it's pointless. It's pointless. You can't make anything. It's pointless. So he's kind of going towards that, but he's got people in that have maybe got 250 to 350 Facebook friends.
I think he's just clutching at straws as well now, to be honest. I think he's so desperate to maybe get whatever little bit of coinage he can out of what's left. But I do think he's trying to wind it down and bugger off somewhere.
I can't see how it could be anything else, just because he obviously knows how it went. He knows it was the reps, and he knows that they've now got no incentive. Personally, looking at his asset management company that he started in France, and I looked into this, you know, it's setting up an asset management for a hotel company is very convenient, because you can put profits through this. You can get money into this from another company. So there's a good chance, and again, this is just my opinion, I have no idea if this is what's going on, that he is using this now wind down opportunity to get the profit out of one company that's left and place them in another. Exactly. Yeah. And of course, but I don't believe that Hannah would be aware of this personally, and I think this is one that they don't know about. I think this is one that they really...
I think whatever he's up to now, and again, just my own opinion, is Hannah and some of the other top reps will not know.
Yeah.
It'll be, he's just, I mean, he's always been about himself, but now he is just about himself, I think.
Yeah,
he just wants to get away, and... But we'll see what will happen with that.
We'll see. We're ready. We're on the sidelines. We've got our popcorn, and we want to see what's happening. We want to see how this goes now. The 1st of February, there's this new. I mean, they want new sign-ups, Sinead. You want everyone to sign up new.
Like, are people who are just sat around with their accounts doing nothing but just in there for the community? Are they really going to want the hassle of moving their account over?
It's not moving accounts over. He said that in his video, he said that it's going to be this legacy website, and the accounts are just going to be there. And then in order to continue on from the 1st of February, they have to sign up to the new system.
Are people going to be bothered to sign up to a new system?
I think some will, but when they were doing Reminiscence, I mean, they were going mad about getting people to sign up. They had to almost force people. It was like, come on, lock yourself in. I just think if people haven't really been selling anything Urban Retreat, okay, they're in the community group, okay, they like being part of this thing, but they know they haven't been selling anything. Are they really going to bother?
I know I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I'd be like, that just be far too much hassle.
Yeah. For what? You can't climb a pyramid. And they've also joined another company at some point. So they're already kind of in another company, which takes up most of their time anyway. You know?
Yes, it just doesn't make sense. Again, is this going to be like the Remy thing where we're going to be like, why is nobody, like, why isn't this making sense? And then all of a sudden it's going to be like, okay, there we go.
Yeah, I think that obviously maybe something's going on with that spa. Who even knows? But there isn't even like a spa attached to it now, so it's even random that it's even called Urban Retreat. I mean, you know, you can understand like Urban Retreat means like it's something urban that you retreat to, so it's weird that the products are even called that. But like, I just feel like, is he just holding out and he's just going to keep providing the products to the spa if it comes back? If it comes back.
Do they even have a business relationship though now, him and George? Is it George Heyman?
I have no idea. I've got no idea the nature of their relationship, to be perfectly honest. I wouldn't even want to speculate. I mean, the reality is, it's not a good look for George Hammer, is it? It's not a good look for him.
Yeah, no.
So, I mean, the thing is, maybe he needed the money. Who money's very corrupting, Sinead, at the end of the day, I think. You know. So who even knows? But yeah, I can't see this going on much into 2025 without it just becoming absolutely pointless.
No.
Pointless.
I can't.
And that's my thoughts on it. Sinead, do you have anything else that you want to touch on? Any insights?
No, just for anyone that's watching this and that is sat there with any of the concerns or the doubts that I have, trust your gut. Don't let them fob you off with BS excuses. Don't let them explain stuff away that doesn't make sense to you. Ask questions over and over and over. And, you know, as I say, trust your gut. If you get those niggle and doubt, I wish I'd listened to myself the first time I got a niggle and doubt, but I didn't. But, you know, and if you're not sure, you know, you can always pop in my inbox if you need someone to talk to about it. My inbox is always open. You know, I am can be quite private about who I do contact on Facebook now for those reasons. But you know, if anybody was to come through to me and say they weren't sure about what's the situation, you know, I'd always be there to support and help. But, you know, the main thing was getting out about how these people do get into your life. As I say, they prey on these Facebook groups, these community groups in Facebook. They prey on them of single moms, of people with mental health issues, of people who perhaps can't work or have certain disabilities. And, you know, they break you down until they get you. As I say, I signed up in the end just to make this woman go away and leave me alone, and then it was even worse. She hounded me even more then. So
yeah, and I think you've articulated it really well, to be honest with you, Sinead. But I think the most important thing, and I'd like to get this across, is that nobody's alone. You do not need to be isolated. Everyone can always come through to my inbox. You know, Sinead's been a victim. There's never going to be
these groups and these cults operate. They operate by isolating people from their true friends and family and make them feel they have no one. So when they do realise the reality of the smoke and mirrors behind what is the MLM industry, they feel they can't say anything, and they want you so terrified to step outside that cult that you will stay in that cult forever.
A lot will almost see the grass greener on the other side, and will leave. They'll think, okay, it's just this one that's really toxic, so they'll leave that one. They'll be almost offered protection by the next one that they jump into, so they then jump from the frying pan into the fire, or, well, it is pretty much perfect example. Jump from the frying pan into the fire, believing that the next one they'll be safe in, only for the cycle of abuse to begin again.
Yeah.
You know, and again, I just want to, I'm not a cycle of abuse in terms, I'm not saying one individual person is responsible for this. This is systemic. It's a systemic abuse. Every individual is part of the machine, and including that individual who is themselves a victim is also part of the machine in the victimization of others. This is what is so damned insidious about this, you know?
It's once you start scratching away and you get down into all those layers of like how deep and toxic this industry actually is,
Yeah.
That's all I have to say about that.
But I always do say, and that's why I have I call people friends now who are in network marketing. I understand why they're in it. I don't question why they're in it. I'm never going to let whatever it is for them that's made them be there or keeps them there, I don't hold it against these people.
No.
And I'm not going to say, there's going to be some people that are, you know, maybe for whatever reason, they are just trundling along, kind of happy, just selling their odd bits and bobs. I know that there are also people that don't get that invested, Sinead, and they're just on the sidelines, making the odd sale, not particularly getting ingratiated into it. There's all levels depending on your personality, depending on your upline, depending on the nature of the machine around you. Every situation for every person is unique. And I don't think neither myself or Sinead's going, every single person is going to have the same outcome as Sinead, because this is not every single person. Many will, many won't. Many will be a heck of a lot worse. But many will not have these things, and they will have trundled along making the odd sale, and they're fine, oblivious, whatever, isn't it? Same with leaders. Not all leaders are manipulative.
Yeah.
Not all leaders are predatory. Many leaders, many of whom I speak to, are very laid back, very got all my people. If you need my help, I'm here. You know, It's like this, you know. But what we're saying is there is a very big picture here, which is a machine, an entire machine, and the machine itself is a form, it is a systemic abuser. And all of these little parts of it contribute to a result where if you take 100 people and put them through the machine, 90% will come out with damages. 10% might just walk out the other side, but 90% will come out with mental, emotional and financial damages, which will be minimal to extreme. And this is not acceptable.
Yeah. No, it isn't. It's, as I say, it's the whole demographics of vulnerable people that are just absolute fodder for these people on social media.
But do you know what, Sinead? I think I love that you've been able to have your voice, and everyone deserves a voice. Everyone's allowed to have a voice. Now, having a voice might not include coming, but never be fearful. I know that I always talk about my watches and stuff. I know that probably 90% of the people who I know it's because they come in my inbox, because I have the dialogues in the inbox with so many people who have never been in my comments feed in their life and would never dare to show their face in my comments feed. Have dialogues in my inbox, and people apologize. No one needs to apologize to me for not coming in my comments feed. Nobody, nobody. I get it.
It probably took me, I think, about 4 months to maybe even comment or like a post.
Yeah,
like
it's a big step.
I was so terrified of anyone from Urban Retreat finding out that I stumbled across this information.
Yeah, no, I know it's a big step. It's massive. But I want to urge people, even coming to my inbox and, for support, or to just say to me, oh my God, this was my experience, is still having a voice. Even to Sinead, still having a voice. You are not required to comment. You are not required to interact. My content is put out there for anyone who wants to watch it and anyone who wants to get anything from it. And it always has been. I never expected. I'm not your upline. I don't. That's another thing, isn't it? When they put posts out, they go in the team chat and they're like, get on my post and comment and like, you have to do all this. I'm no one's upline.
Where you can put your posts in there and then all the hunbots go and
get
your algorithms up.
Yeah, to get the algorithm. I don't need anyone to get my algorithm up. I don't want it. I post when I want to post. I'm not obsessed with getting my algorithm up. I'm not trying to earn money, anything like that. I put my posts out on Facebook because I want to. Sinead has come on here today because she wants to. And this is me trying to instill in you that we are free agents. Sinead is a free agent, having a voice. That's you too. I know it might not feel like that. I know it might feel like you owe somebody or something. You can do anything you like. You have a human right to freedom of expression, right? That's your human right, right? And that's how I wanted to lead. I wanted Sinead to be an inspiration to anyone. You're not alone. You have a voice. Sinead is resolving, and so can you. You don't have to, you know.
Life after it.
Yeah, there is.
It's not the be all and end all, and you might think that losing those online people is a big loss, but honestly, it's not.
They weren't
proper friends to begin with.
people who are gaining from you. It's very difficult. It's the whole thing of don't mix business and friendship, isn't it? You know, it's very difficult to retain a friendship that was built on a financial gain at some point, you know.
Exactly.
But you've taken, but thank you so much for coming on, Sinead.
No, thank you. As I say, you know, the past, is it 23 months, whatever it is now, you know, without yourself and Tracy and a few others, I don't think myself and Michelle would have been able to negotiate our way out of the industry as well as we have,
bless you.
and as intact as we had without the support we've had from you guys. So.
Oh, bless you, Sinead. Well, I think everyone has been in that situation, and you are able to be that support for others now. But thank you so much, Sinead.
Thank
and anyway,
you. I will speak soon.
Bye.